You're 31 years old, a $1.2 million house in Miami, 2 cars in the garage, and an offshore account that no government agent has managed to trace to this day. Nobody knows how you got here. Your family thinks you got lucky in business. Your friends think you're smart. Your accountant thinks you're a disciplined entrepreneur. They're all right. And they're all completely wrong. Because the truth is that everything started with a printer, a filthy apartment in Baltimore, and a question you never should have asked yourself. What if I made my own money? This is the story of how you became one of the greatest counterfeiters in American history, and how you were never caught. You grew up in Baltimore. Your mother comes home at 11 at night with destroyed feet and the rent is still late. Your father sent a letter when you were a kid, then he disappeared. You learn early that money is something that exists in other people's lives. As a teenager, you land a job at a print shop in the suburbs. Smelly, loud, $20 an hour, but you pay attention to everything. You learn that paper has its own texture, that ink has behavior, that color is layer, pressure, and temperature all at once. You don't know yet what you'll use it for, but you learn. You store everything away. Years go by. You're still at the print shop, still in the same apartment, still in the same place. At 26, you look at your life and realize nothing has changed, and that nothing will change if you keep doing the same thing. On a Friday, you receive counterfeit money as change at a convenience store. $20. You don't even notice at the time. You notice 2 days later when the landlord looks at the bill and says, "This isn't real." You stare at that money for hours. It's a terrible counterfeit, sloppy. Anyone can tell right away. And then a thought hits you. Simple. Direct. I could do so much better than this. It's not euphoria. It's not madness. It's a quiet certainty that never goes away. You've worked in printing for years. You understand ink, paper, process. And what's in your hand was made by someone who understands none of that. 4 months saving money without drawing attention. Your 400 square foot apartment becomes a laboratory. Your girlfriend tries to understand for 2 weeks. Then she leaves. She's right. You're obsessed and there's no room for anything else. You take a $100 bill and study every millimeter. The security thread embedded in the middle that shows up in the light. The microprinting along the edges that no eye reads but every machine detects. The ink that shifts color when you tilt it. Green to gold, gold to green. The raised texture you feel with your finger. That specific rough feel that no ordinary printer can replicate. You try, you fall short. You try again, you fall less short. You try again. Hundreds of attempts flush down the toilet. You wake up at 3 in the morning with solutions in your head and write them on your own arm. 8 months like that. And then, on an unremarkable Tuesday, you hold the money in your hands. And it's real. Not almost real. Real. You place it next to a genuine bill. You stare so long you start to confuse which one is which. Your hands are shaking. You are 27 years old and you just changed everything. You wait 3 weeks before using it. Discipline, not fear. You ask a friend to hold the money without explaining anything. He looks at it, turns it over, and hands it back without suspicion. Good. You drive to a supermarket in Delaware. Delaware because it isn't Baltimore. It isn't anywhere anyone knows you. You buy a 75-cent piece of gum. You put the counterfeit bill into the self-checkout machine. The machine reads it, accepts it, spits out $99.25 in real change. You take the change and walk out at a normal pace. You don't run. You don't look back. You walk like someone who doesn't owe anything to anyone in the world. In the parking lot, inside the car with the engine off, you sit still for 4 minutes. Just sitting. It had worked. Exactly as you calculated. You don't get rich fast. You go slow. Deliberate. Almost irritatingly cautious. Never the same place twice. Never the same day of the week. Never amounts that draw attention. You map human behavior with precision. You discover that between 11 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, the cashier's head is already at the lunch that hasn't happened yet. You discover that hardware stores are perfect. Big purchases, employees thinking about inventory. You discover that a neighborhood grocery store in a small town is a trap. The cashier knows every customer. Every observation becomes a rule. Every rule makes everything safer. A different city every week. Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio. Never 2 consecutive states the same. By the end of the first year, you have $86,000 saved, And you still wake up early, clock in at the print shop, and eat a sandwich at your desk. Because you understood the most important rule. The biggest mistake people with illegal money make is looking like they have money. 12 months after the first test, you are 28 years old. A department store in Philadelphia, Thursday afternoon. The cashier holds the bill, looks at it differently, calls the manager. Your stomach drops, but you stay still. You breathe through your nose. You glance to the side like a bored customer waiting for the line to move. The manager arrives, takes the bill, looks again, and hands it back to you. I'm sorry for the wait, sir. The system freezes sometimes. You walk out of the store, cross the street, and sit on a park bench for 40 minutes, just breathing. That day you create 3 new rules. No more department stores, no more Philadelphia, no more Thursday afternoons. Every scare becomes a lesson. That's how the system grows. 2 years after the first test, 29 years old, you quit the print shop, you tell everyone you received an inheritance from an uncle who lived in Arizona. Nobody questions it. Nobody ever questions an inheritance. You move to Charlotte, North Carolina, new city, new face, completely different operation. You no longer work alone. 2 people, chosen with a care that borders on paranoia. No criminal record, no addiction, no habit of talking too much. And each one knows exactly what they need to know to do their part. Nothing more. One doesn't know what the other does. Neither of them knows where the money is produced. Monthly volume tripled. Risk per operation cut in half. You are running a company with processes, with control, with results. Except the product is different. Having counterfeit money is one thing. Turning counterfeit money into real wealth is a completely different problem. What good is $300,000 in cash stuffed in the lining of a bag if you can't buy a house with it? If any large transaction raises a flag in the system? You spend months studying how money moves through the American financial system. And you open a business, a laundromat in Atlanta, a cash business. Money comes in every day in small amounts from different sources, the perfect environment to mix what can't be traced with what is completely legitimate. Then it becomes 2 laundromats, then a small restaurant in the suburbs, then a landscaping company serving residential communities. You were never a chef, never a gardener, but you are a brilliant cash flow manager, and the businesses are real. They actually work. They have employees, customers, Google reviews, because you understood that the best way to hide something illegal is to cover it with something legitimate that functions. 31 years old, Miami. 5 years after that night staring at a sloppy counterfeit bill in your Baltimore apartment. A house in Coral Gables, pool, garden. 2 cars in the garage, one understated for everyday use, one expensive for when you need to look exactly like what you are on paper. A successful businessman, accountant, lawyer. Taxes filed on time every year. You have dinner at good restaurants with people who respect you. You travel twice a year with clean documentation. Everyone around you sees a young man who worked hard and got there fast. And in a way, they're right. You were more disciplined than most people could ever manage to be. You built all of this with your own hands in 5 years. The starting point is just different from what they imagine. But there's something no movie ever shows. You're at a dinner, and someone starts talking about how their cousin got arrested for fraud. Everyone makes a face of horror. You smile, agree that it's terrible, and reach for more wine. You see on the news that the Secret Service dismantled a counterfeiting operation. Your heart races even though you know there's no connection whatsoever to that case. You recite the story of the uncle from Arizona so naturally that for a moment you believe it yourself. And you realize you can't tell anyone. Not in a weak moment. Not to a single person. Never. You look at every new person in your life and first calculate whether they're a risk before deciding whether you like them. That's the real cost. It's not financial. It's not legal. It's what happens to you on the inside when you spend years being someone who doesn't completely exist. You get too good at pretending, too good at calculating, too good at not trusting. And one day you realize you no longer know where the performance ends and where the real you begins. So that's it. 31 years old, 1.2 million in real assets, businesses running, a life that anyone looking from the outside would call success. Built from nothing in 5 years. No real inheritance, no connections, no privilege whatsoever. Just an obsession, absolute discipline, and the willingness to live with your stomach in knots every time someone holds a bill up to the light. Was it worth it? You pause. You think honestly. No rush. And the only truthful answer that comes out is, depends on what day you ask. Leave a like if you made it to the end, and subscribe to the channel because every week there's a new video that puts you inside a life you never imagined existed.